fastest growing and adoption of crypto continent globally. It has taken on this verge, and yet it has got only 0.5% share on the total global chain, that is blockchain venture funding, which stands around 25.2 billion US dollars. Hello, welcome, thank you for joining us. It's another money making day. We're coming to you live from Nile One Studios. My name is Rita Caballero, to make sure we keep the pace with global trends. And for this particular discussion, we're going to look at the state of blockchain in South Africa and Namibia. And just to help you understand a little bit around the ventures in South Africa, when you look at the Crypto Valley Venture Capital, that is the VC report in South Africa, was noting it is among of the biggest blockchain markets in Africa, and also in the inaugural African blockchain report that was published by CV as well, in collaboration with the Standard Bank there, it was revealing how South Africa is among the top fundraisers for the new blockchain ventures in Africa. In 2021 alone, we have seen an 18.89 million US dollar raised to fund the 5 blockchain and cryptocurrency companies. And to discuss this more and more, I'm going to be joined by Africa Jantis, who is a lawyer, blockchain digital assets, as well as the legal consultant around those particular areas. I just, highlighted a little bit of statistics, and that was 2021. If you're there, thank you so much for joining us. Please let us know what is the status of blockchain in South Africa currently. Africa. If you could please unmute your audio.
Thank you so much, Rita, for the question. Thank you to the Nile One Studios, Nile One Group. I'm certainly very excited about the work and as well as the initiatives you doing and taking in ensuring blockchain education, but also as far as sensitizing the continent, what's happening around the different jurisdictions as far as blockchain, the status, the adoption, and the activities therein. To answer your question in respect of the report that was published in respect of the different projects that are taking place in South Africa, you would appreciate that South Africa, being such a big economic hub within Southern Africa, but particular Africa, is quite driven by innovation in various sectors, and there are a lot of companies, particularly within the fintech space, that have transitioned into blockchain. So naturally, it would have been almost an instantaneous migration towards really exploring opportunities within blockchain technology application and the innovation that comes with it. Generally, South Africa has taken a very embracing position in terms of blockchain technology, and really has not only embraced it, but has taken active steps. You would perhaps be aware that there is what they refer to the South African Blockchain National Alliance, which is an institution that was established to not only foster the adoption of blockchain in the various sectors, but also be a working group, sectoral representative for blockchain, interacting with government, the industry, as well as various role players in sensitizing, sharing information, but also building this industry, which we all believe, insofar as technology is concerned, would be dominating every industry in the world, as it might be. That in a nutshell is South Africa view. They've really made strides in many regards, particularly within the financial sector, because that is one of the areas they've looked at as one of the immediate impacts. There was a project about 3 years ago called COCA between the various banks to determine and use a blockchain protocol in which to facilitate interbank settlements between the various banks, and see how fast that could be done under using blockchain technology. vis-a-vis the current legacy systems or the current traditional way of going about it. And that project, which was a pilot project 3 years ago, really proved that blockchain is the way to go insofar as what it enables you, the banks to do, so far as the speed of transaction, traceability, but also the mere fact that it becomes almost very seamless and that the settlements don't take 48 or 72 hours between the banks. So generally, over and above, there are various concerted efforts within the South African jurisdiction, the economy within the different role sector players, government, civil society, but also entrepreneurs that are coming up daily with various initiatives and various innovation startups as far as blockchain is concerned. So in that regard, South Africa is quite leading and has really taken blockchain as a very imperative, integral part of developing the digital economy going forward. And that is insofar as South Africa is concerned. I don't know what you want me to touch on a bit. Yes, Rita?
Thank you so much, Africa, and you giving us the whole sum of that. It's very interesting us hearing about how entrepreneurs are getting on board, innovations coming on board, but also tell us, how is the adoption? How about the people? How are they adopting to all these innovations, to all the projects you're telling us? How is it ongoing in South Africa?
Well, look, while I speak very general and without a lot of factual basis, but more than over above, amongst the populace, there's still a very, I won't say ignorance is prevailing, but it is not the widespread, the knowledge, the education, bringing it right to the grassroots levels, bringing it into educational institution has been quite lacking. However, institutions like the University of Cape Town have developed short courses to start, allowing the different sectors or those within the financial sectors to have at least a basic understanding of the evolution or blockchain and how money is evolving currently into the digital economy. And therefore, they have these courses where they teach the basics on blockchain, cryptocurrencies, the fundamentals, the history. And so these are good initiatives from educational institutions. However, generally, the populace, when you talk blockchain technology, it's foreign, it's Greek, it's something that the general ordinary layman on the street or any other person for that matter would not relate because it's not yet widely spread in terms of educating the public, sensitizing not only just the big corporates, the entrepreneurs, the regulators, the big fintech companies, but also, filtering down to elementary level. And I think from that point of view, there's still a great, huge gap that needs to be fulfilled.
Okay, thank you so much. And you as a consultant in this particular regard, when we speak about blockchain, digital assets and then fintech, financial technology, what do you see as challenging, the most challenging part or situation in South Africa? And also tell us how different regulatories are trying, to come up with solutions. I know you should be one of them coming up with solutions. You can let us know.
Yes, definitely. I think the challenges are always, it's with new technologies come new concerns, also a fear of the unknown, but at the same time also how do you integrate this type of evolution, particularly when you look at blockchain technology. Fintech has been proven to a great extent. Blockchain is still in its infancy in terms of being able to be proven to a great extent, but we already see what's happening in that space. The challenge is that a lot of what's happening within blockchain technology requires a total deviation, a paradigm shift from the current legacy mindset of how things are done. Also, just understanding the underpinning technology that drives blockchain is also very challenging, and it becomes very worrisome for regulators who now find themselves in a position of how do you regulate industry which, based on the technology that it's founded, is decentralized, has no jurisdictional limitations? And how do you create products or regulate products within the decentralized or within the blockchain innovative space? And I think that in itself poses one of the greatest challenges, but also the legal process, the process of making law, the process of creating legislation, regulations, is a very slow process. It's a consultative process, but it's also a process that involves various stakeholders, various institutions, because there are various other bodies that are responsible for either prudential legislation, other bodies that have for regulatory oversight, other bodies that are responsible for issuing licenses. Now, there's a need to consolidate, there's a need to work together, but at the very same time is that blockchain technology and application, its innovation is so fast, it evolves so fast in that you can't keep pace of it. And because of the nature of it, it becomes very difficult to really craft a legal framework to have legislation or regulators or have oversight. However, I think, having said that, a lot of the institutions that have the responsibility to either regulate, have oversight, issue licenses, have sort of taken the approach that we need to create sandboxes in which we can see how best we can, how they can not only understand the application, the use case of blockchain, cryptocurrency, digital assets, virtual assets, you might call it, and differentiate it. And through that, start crafting draft declarations that will able to give guidance and maybe also equip and allow them to learn. I think, having said that, Rita, one of the things that some of the other banks have started doing, especially in South Africa, is to establish blockchain departments because they understand that this is disruptive technology. Whether they like it or not, it is here to stay. You can't talk fourth industrial revolution if you can't talk blockchain. Blockchain is essentially the gateway towards the fourth industrial revolution. So that goes without saying, they're synonymous with each other. You also need to remove the mindset of a centralized control system where this exactly is decentralized, and you would not want what happened to the big media corporations, what happened to the big oil companies with the advent of your Ubers, your applications, your Facebooks, and all of these that became global business. And that is what blockchain, whether the regulators, governments are willing to embrace it or come on board now, that is exactly what's going to happen in that regard. But I think in a nutshell, the challenges are of such nature that there is a need to have a cohesion and a symbiotic interaction, of which I think South Africa is very much advanced. There is a position paper which has been developed over the last 3-4 years, and it constantly has updates, and it involves the various sectors, the central bank, the FSCA, the stakeholders within the industry. I think is about, they call it the intergovernmental working group as far as that. And in that, various contributions are made, various research is done, and I think it's very progressive. It's acknowledging the fact that this is the future of the modern day economy.
Okay. Thank you so much. And in case you just joined in, you are watching the state of blockchain in South Africa and Namibia. We just started it with South Africa. And please, you can share this particular link to a friend, because definitely this is the future. We call it the future because everyone at least needs to hear the information right here to guide you through in the money making day. Not forgetting to do the subscription or hit the subscription button, and there you go, you always get notifications of these particular videos. And away from South Africa now, let us look at the southwestern part of the country, and that is Namibia, where we go. And when you look at the Bank of Namibia there, which revised the statement on cryptocurrency, that was May 2018, taking a position that virtual currencies are not recognized, and also the legal tender or pricing on goods and services in cryptocurrency, and acting cryptocurrency as a form of payment was actually not being recognized there. And the bank also does not recognize cryptocurrency as any commodity, storing cryptocurrency, therefore discouraged in that particular country. We were speaking ranging from 2018, Africa. If you could explain to us now how this is practical in Namibia.
I think, thank you so much again for that question, and just to provide an oversight. Historically, you'd also maybe need to know that a lot of what's happening in South Africa, Namibia falls within what we call the Common Monetary Area, which is the CMA, which involves South Africa, Namibia, Swaziland, and Lesotho. Particularly as well, in as much as the central bank or the Bank of Namibia is independent, it also takes a lot of its direction collectively, I believe, in consultation with the rest of the other central banks. But it is right and it is correct that within the Republic of Namibia, the Bank of Namibia has issued out a position paper in which it clearly indicates and highlights that it does not recognize cryptocurrencies as a legal tender. That is a fact. However, the fact that it does not recognize cryptocurrency as a legal tender does not make cryptocurrency unlawful or illegal within the context of Namibia. What the position is that for purposes of legal tender, it is not recognized by law as a legal tender. Now, at the same time, in the absence of any law that outlaws or makes it illegal, the use of crypto is not necessarily encouraged, because the bank is of the view and maintains that they cannot have any redress in the end that someone in the public is subjected to any of the schemes or is defrauded or anything happens, because there would be no remedy upon which they can rely on law to take action. However, having said that, that hasn't stopped Namibians, just like South Africans, to participate vigorously within the crypto sphere. A lot of Namibians are those that are quite involved within the crypto digital virtual asset space are very robustly buying, engaging in crypto projects, and that has not affected them as individuals per se. Also, I think there's a need within this jurisdiction, of which I think through press release papers, which I can't verify, but which are there, that there is now an adoption approach rather to start considering looking at a framework to start having a regulation in place to regulate virtual assets, cryptocurrency, as it may be. In particular, with the mere fact that, and maybe in this context, is that a lot in the last 3 years, there are a lot of Namibians, just like South Africans, who were subjected to a lot of syndicates or schemes and fraudulent projects, and who lost a lot of their money invested in this project. So the regulators have really come up with a very cautionary approach, apart from the fact that crypto is very highly volatile and discourages members of the public, but also because of the fact that with it, a lot of it has given room to a lot of Ponzi schemes and a lot of other companies that take advantage of unsuspecting members of the public who themselves know very little about cryptocurrencies and blockchain, and who are promised high returns overnight and who have little understanding of the risk involved. So I think as far as the position paper, that's correct. However, that has not stopped, or it does not in any way suggest that the engagement of cryptocurrency is unlawful.
And thank you so much. I see, even picking it from the conversation we've been having, you giving us a take where universities are on the move to making sure people go into there and also getting information from universities. I see that happening seemingly the same in Namibia, where earlier on in March for this particular year, the decentralized climate information ecosystem was announced in partnership with the Namibia through the University of Namibia to become a verifier of the country's carbon impact on the climate change, and they're seeing a hope of blockchain here coming to play a part. I do not know how this exactly works, because though some of the highlights were into emissions on carbon and then carbon crediting from green hydrogen and projects within Namibia. Maybe you could explain to us more, what impact does blockchain have on climate?
I think over and above, thank you so much, Rita. I think I was quite surprised when I actually noticed that there is a project of that magnitude taking place through a collaborative effort with the University of Namibia, which is aimed at not only verifying and traceability, but also ensuring that carbon emissions can be mitigated through a platform under blockchain where carbon credits can be offset through utilizing greener energy or involved in greener projects. Now, blockchain becomes, in the bigger scheme of it, I think it's the biggest opportunity for carbon emissions, carbon credits, but also in allowing and incentivizing projects and industries to utilize greener energy in the pursuance of the activities, because what it effectively does is that because of the underpinning technology in itself, it makes it now easy to actively verify, trace. It makes it much more easier to actually, confirm, and also makes it much easier to establish the exact nature of the so-called green projects. The whole aspect around hydrogen, green hydrogen projects in Namibia has taken quite off, in particular because Namibia has been one of the pioneers of climate change, advocating for greener environments, thing with the establishment of what they call the Environmental Investment Fund. And I think in the last Davos, this was which was about 2 weeks ago, the emphasis on engaging in greener projects, utilizing blockchain technology as an instrument and enabler to ensure carbon emissions are reduced through incentivizing, tokenizing, for instance, a mine, or tokenizing a factory, and ensure that it operates in a green space, and therefore incentivizing them through carbon credits on the blockchain, and allow that interaction. So I think I was quite amazed in the price in that regard. But having said that, there's still a big need within this jurisdiction to accelerate the adoption of blockchain technology, to educate the public, for industries to be aware of what blockchain technology is already doing and it's going to impact. And to that extent, we're in the process of establishing also the National Blockchain Alliance of Namibia to be a stakeholder or sector advocate in ensuring government, civil society, civic entrepreneurs come together and accelerate and advance the adoption of blockchain technology as a whole.
Okay, thank you so much. And maybe you could talk to us, advise us on what exactly could be done when we compare the two countries, South Africa and Namibia, on taking on, let us talk about cryptocurrency here more so. When you look at opportunities that are in South Africa, and then in Namibia, there are a lot of limitations from our conversation. What can be done, maybe copying from South Africa, transferring it to Namibia? And also, maybe you can also let us know what is so special in South Africa that is helping, the adoption going on very quick and fast, and that can be done in Namibia.
I think first and foremost, the one aspect is Namibia is a very small population, 2.3 at the very least, less than 3 million people. I think from that, you have less than 100,000 people that are really active in the economy. And therefore, you have a very small population that would be exposed and be vulnerable should the regulators here not exercise real oversight, even in the absence of real legislation. To come back to your question, I think first and foremost, within this jurisdiction, the institutions or establishments of the National Blockchain Association of Namibia and various other sectors need to come together and adopt a position paper, collectively providing input from industry and also crafting a path towards how best we could collaborate and ensure that we meet at least alleviate the fears of the regulators, the legislatures, the different bodies that have oversight. I think that is a very critical and important step. The championing and advocating advancing blockchain will not come from regulators. It will come from innovators. It will come from the different stakeholders, and therefore there needs to be a need to embrace this, symbiotic cooperation, if you want to call it, for lack of a better word. The days where you get a consultant and the central banks consult away from the industry or come up with legislation that they deem is fit for the industry will not work, simply because by the very nature of blockchain technology and its application, especially in DeFi, and a lot of what's happening out there, the control, the middleman syndrome that has for long been in existence is removed completely. And once that is recognized, the fact remains, how do we then ensure that we do not force those involved in cryptocurrency to use alternative routes, thereby creating fears that they might be involved in money laundering, involved in illicit trade and all of that. And I think that is ultimately the biggest fear currently, in that it might be used as a means to launder money, be involved in the dark web, involved in, avoiding paying tax. So number one is to embrace a collective industry cooperation from the different industry stakeholders. Second of all, it is to ensure that a white position paper is adopted. Thirdly, to really establish a sandbox that is, embracing of the different initiatives and not just put out legislation. Because I can imagine and understand why the central banks would take such a very a position in terms of, discouraging members of the public, because the technology in itself is of such nature that with the legacy environment, you can't regulate it. You can't simply plug and play. You first need to understand what it is. You then need to scale yourself, and then you need to move with it. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of these skills in the space, and it will take some time to do that, but rather now than later, because it's evolving and it's waiting for no one. Crypto is here to stay, whether we like it or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And let's do a reality check right now. When I'm to take you back in some 10 years back and below, we saw South Africa as a very great pioneer in development, especially for Africa. And African countries looked at it as maybe its hero, a run to in every case. A lot of people were going to South Africa, for jobs, for creations, a lot of things. With this particular developments, now we see Dubai coming on board, and I feel like it has taken on a very large, and African countries are no longer seeing a rescuer from South Africa. Do you think that is true, and what can be done maybe to chase back what they had?
Well, look, it's quite an interesting question. I have to apply my mind in it, but I think having been an economic hub for so long and being a lead and a pioneer in so many industries and being at the forefront of many industries, I don't think South Africa would at any given time not be part of the progressive movement in embracing blockchain technology, but also making strides as what's happening in Dubai, where you find a lot of the industries are operating already. 50% of most of the industries are on the blockchain. You talk agriculture, health sector, your aviation, and all of that. I think South Africa is pretty much on the same track as far as that is concerned. However, at the same time, what the proponents of blockchain technology and crypto, like myself, enthusiasts, know is that 10, 20 years ago, we would say the most important resource in any given country is your natural resources. I mean, your people. Coupled with that is your natural resources. What blockchain technology, what cryptocurrency, the whole evolution there is not only demystify that, but has created an opportunity where this generation would have more and has more opportunities than any other generation would have had by virtue of what can be achieved and can be done in the blockchain. What we have witnessed so far is not even 1% of what can be done. We've just started with it. And with that, any country in Africa can become a global player. And therefore, the need to get your youth involved in coding, programming, the different languages within blockchain, but also creating industries by educating our youth. We in Africa, not just South Africa, but any African country who literally embraces and jumps on blockchain can become a major global changer. That's my perspective and view.
And we're closing this discussion with the digital experience coming on board. And for the very past year, play to earn games have transformed a number of people in most developed countries. And let us speak about metaverse experience. How is it going with South Africa and Namibia?
Well, South Africa, I've seen of late especially the South African Alliance. Sunbar has arranged webinars inviting a lot of the different stakeholders engaging in, sensitizing, providing information, highlighting what metaverse, Web3, what it would effectively and how it will impact the different sectors of society, and the need to also position and start aligning the different industries in that regard, and also highlighting that it's not fictitious, it's not a pipe dream, it is real. It is taking place, it's happening, and the quicker, the faster that is also embraced. The signs are already there. You see Facebook, biggest social platforms already converging into that. You see some of the biggest companies in the world already setting the environment and to enable them to have a stake within the metaverse, but also creating their own innovative platforms for metaverse. And that is the fifth industrial revolution. It is part of where we're heading and where we're part of. So I think in South Africa there is advocacy in terms of education, informing, sharing. Within Namibia, it is different individuals. It is those that are more keen and interested. But from an industry stakeholder, from a government point of view, it is absent. In my view, it is non-existent.
Oh, we're seeing a very quick difference there. And that brings me to the question of, do you think Namibia needs cryptocurrency? And that is as well goes for South Africa. Do you see need for cryptocurrency in these particular countries?
It goes without saying. And I've highlighted it, cryptocurrencies are here to stay. There's a need for it. And the need for it is purely on the basis that money has evolved. There is no room for fiat. Your pound, your US dollar, your South African rands, whatever, your shilling. If you talk fourth industrial revolution, you can't talk fiat. You can't do anything with fiat. It's become obsolete. And therefore, cryptocurrency is the future. It's not going to become, it already is. However, I do concede and accept cryptocurrencies at this stage, particularly with all of the projects and all of the different currencies that are listed and continue to come out. There's still a gray area in, establishing and then really confirming and having that trust developed to a point where People are educated in terms of the volatility. People also educated in terms of do not, don't invest or don't get involved in projects that you yourself don't understand or that you're not equipped to, and don't see it as a quick money making scheme. I think for a lot of people, particularly in Namibia and South Africa, still think cryptocurrency is another form of forex trading, which the two have nothing to do with each other, have absolutely nothing in common. And that requires a lot of education. But as far as the need for it, yes, the public buy cryptocurrency daily, every day. They find ways to buy it at other exchanges. They find ways to create offshore companies, to buy crypto, to hodl. Nothing's going to stop them. And the fact is, by virtue of the block, you can't stop. The only way is by creating barriers such as you can't use now your credit card to buy. But then they find innovative ways, which again, that's not what you want. You don't want to be rebellious towards but I think it's here to stay, and there's a need for it, a great need for it, an imminent need for it.
Thank you so much. And lastly, let's speak about, in your opinion, what you think needs to be done away from South Africa and Namibia. Let us generalize the continent. What can we do to improve the digital outreach to the societies?
Well, I think particularly what Nile One Group Studios are doing is exactly what needs to happen in every jurisdiction. And that is to educate, that is to sensitize, that is to share information, that is to have platforms and programs dedicated towards, educating the continent, but also at the same time, engage the different governments in the different jurisdictions to embrace cryptocurrency, to embrace blockchain technology, and not see it as something that is going to disrupt the existing legacy system. I mean, we have evolved since 1960. We've evolved since 1920 when, the different industrial revolutions. And this is the revolution in which it is the modern digital economy that we are basically facing and inheriting. And therefore, platforms such as this, that more coupled with stakeholder engagement and accelerating the spread or the adoption of it through engagement, but also getting government on board collectively, in the different jurisdictions.
Now we're concluding our discussion. Thank you so much, Africa, for having given us your time. Maybe in 30 seconds, any last words to us?
Well, I think I've said it and I've repeatedly said it, that this generation this is the generation that has the best opportunity that any other generation has had. And that comes in the form of cryptocurrency and blockchain, and which I see is the only way to empower Africans and the whole world generally from poverty, from all the challenges that we are currently facing, purely because of the different multitude of opportunities and what you can do with it. And crypto is here to stay. You can put me in 2020, in 2030 again.
Okay, and speaking about best opportunities as well, you've got the best opportunity ever by simply clicking onto the subscription button right here and subscribe to Nile One, and also share this particular link because someone elsewhere needs to hear this particular information. My name is Rita Kavanyoroti. We meet again. It's a goodbye for now.
Thank you so much.